Alright, so we're just going to do, I don't know, call it a post walk of two of my runs. I got this wrong, and this is not right. It is definitely the 34835 that I ran. No big deal. It's going to show us some more differences and some more inconsistencies in my driving, which is what I want to get to anyways, because I was all over the place in the 34s and I could not improve because I think I was doing things better in some spots and doing things worse in others. Even in this run, there's some spots that I should have done a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and let the video run through real quick. And turn that down a little bit more. And um, we're learning how to do this software. I haven't done any video editing before, so pardon that. I'm working on it, learning how to use this fun little pen, um, just to like help show lines and stuff that I'm doing wrong, or in my opinion, what I'm doing wrong. Um, this is just gonna be something I want to do whenever I'm, finish a day and want to see what I can do better to improve. When I do these in the future, if there's a course map, I'm definitely going to put it up because that's always a good thing to look at. I can draw where the different sectors are and stuff like that. But at LS Fest, we didn't get one, which was fine. It's honestly more fun to walk out there basically blind, in my opinion, anyways. You you get a real good idea of how well you look forward compared to other people on a cold tire lap if nobody gets. We did walk it, but if you don't get to walk it, you get a good idea of where you're looking and if you're looking in the right places. The other thing that we're missing is my data logging. None of that was. I say it wasn't working. The way it works now is not very fun. I'm gonna play it again. Um, it's not very fun to work with right now because I have to export it out of Holly software, combine it into Megalog Viewer, and then re-separate it and cut it for the video. I'm just not a fan of how Holly does that stuff, so I'm not going to use it as much as possible. Um, I've I've always really liked Megalog Viewer and anything Tuner Studio related. They it's just my preferred system. Plus a lot of little fun customizations. So, just a brief, quick rundown on what we're doing here. So, we have like this time to last and sector difference. So, time to last is more what this video is compared to this video. Um, Overall, as we're going through the course, sector difference is the last difference. So, yeah, we after the first two quote unquote sectors, it was really a quarter second on both of them. Just kind of funny how that worked out, but that's definitely not always going to be the case. We also have this down here, which is more or less an optimal time. I'll always be splitting that over whichever part of the run was faster in each sector. It it gives an idea of where it could have been. Not that these two runs really would have given me that. It barely moved my faster of these two runs forward, but it's fun to look at. Um, Also, goes back to that whole consistency thing. Something else we'll talk about is my car setup. Not necessarily like engine and stuff, but more what I am doing to the chassis as the day goes on, and what I like about it, what I don't like about it, what I don't understand. More the understand part is freaking me out, but it's learning. The other thing is if you can change your audio to left and right in YouTube, you're going to get the left and right video. So this is obviously left, and I'm just going to draw an R because that is awful. Um, so if you want to hear one or the other, that's how you do that. This one's just GoPro. like I said, terrible. And this is my audio board, so this one I actually had to take the raw audio file and mix it into the video, which is why I only did it for one of them and not the other, because I decided to do this last minute. That's basically all that. So kick it back to the start and go through what I was planning on doing. So to time these, I actually went frame by frame and lined up more or less the cone. So we only go frame by frame, which means we get 0.033 seconds per frame on 60 frames, and that's how I timed it. I did it at the front, and that's how I do it between all the different sectors. So I never lined it up on the starting cone. It was always the first cone after, because while I try to line up in the same spot, it doesn't always work. So anyways, moving on. Coming through here, you can tell that I'm just carrying so much more speed on the right side. We're already turned, whereas this is not. Like, I just didn't have faith in the car. This was my third run, I think, or my fourth run, and this was day 2, which was also an important observation. The weather was slightly different. It was still hot, but this was more overcast. As you can see, all these pretty clouds. Wish they were there for day 2 because it was hot as shit. But moving on, you can see coming into this corner right here, the car rotates really well coming into right here. We're basically almost pointed where we want to already. Oops, I'm clicking the wrong button. We're on where we want to be going, right? Cars coming around, coming around, coming around. And there you can tell that the whole car yaws over real hard. That's where I'm currently having trouble with the car. At this point, I had already taken like my oops, that's wrong. My front rebound basically to nothing. I think I only had 1, maybe 2 clicks in it at this point, and it still was coming up too hard. So I don't know if I have too much spring in the car and I need to pull it out for surfaces like parking lots for autocross. But that was just that observation. But anyways, this side, you'll see it does a very similar thing, where but the left side actually comes around more, and it comes around way earlier, and I have to actually correct it. But it drifts out to the side, and correct it, and have to save it because I just had my track day set up in it. I didn't pull anything out of it beforehand. So that was an important turn. Also, I kind of cheated on this one. I already did an initial recording, and that's weird. Huh. Why is it not doing the video? There it goes. I already did an initial recording, and so I already saw where a lot of this stuff happened. In the future, that won't be the case. I screwed everything up in the first part. So that was the end of the first sector. It was a quarter-second difference, and it really was just that. It was the start and how it rotated through that corner, and having to save it just really carried that right side over the left. We're going to see the same problem coming into this next corner. Actually, no, it was pretty planted through both of those. So we pause it here just to show that we exited so much faster. We carried so much more speed. We're a whole... Wow, actually, no, this is backwards. This side's coming out faster. So see, this is where I should have done another sector, because the left is actually significantly up on the right now. I'm going to say that I was just carrying more speed. Let's see. It's already up right there. Huh. Where did I... Yeah, I just carried more speed on the left. Okay. I didn't notice that before. But right here, we can also see that the left is still ahead. So we would have been chewing into that quarter second difference already. But right here is another point that I wanted to bring up because this was a big deal. So they're kind of even, which is bad because the left was up, right? And as we inch forward, we can see that the right is catching up really quickly. Um, and what's going to happen is the right's actually going to beat us to this cone right here. But the left is going to come back around on it. So we'll get around that weird little bug that we were experiencing. So we're closing in on this way quicker, right? And overall, it was a quarter second for the right again, which is a surprise because the left was significantly faster through two of the portions of that little sector. Um, but you can see that the left has taken off again. Like the left is already here, and we're a good, I don't know, 10 feet back from it. So that's a lot of time lost. Probably another tenth just coming through that one corner. Oops. But here we're gonna get back to that holy cow, the left is way ahead thing. Noticing that we're lined up on this green cone right here and we're still way back. But it's not gonna matter because on the right we're actually gonna carry so much more speed. And we're, like I said, we just passed this cone right here and it's still up here. So the right is still farther back, but just coming out of this one cone right here and getting up here, we gain everything back and more. So we'll go frame by frame for a second. So here's where I really get on the brakes on the left side. What is going on? She's not liking what I'm doing. There we go. Alright. So you can see that the right has already caught back up. And it was all in that one little straightaway coming out of the slalom. We're basically right back on it. But the left still gained back a good chunk of time. And that was just because I had messed up the entry into the slalom so bad. And well, the corner before the slalom and the entry into the slalom so bad on the right that there was just no hope of catching that back up. Even though I killed the slalom on the right side, I just lost it before it. And what's interesting is I thought I was losing a ton of time in this little section because this GoPro video is very deceptive. This is extremely tight. I wish I would have used the other angle for this part because this angle does not do it justice. Everybody was giving up the ghost coming into this, but we actually ended up going a little bit faster on the right side just by a single frame. Like I said, 0.033 is our frame. Every 0.033 is a frame for 60 frames per second. So that was we gained a little bit back, but not really anything to write home about. And honestly, I thought I was losing every bit of time in that last little jig, but that turned out to not be the case. It turned out to be my inconsistency throughout the run, and really this section right here was the thing that I should have been the most consistent on because this is the most similar to the things that I do on my sim. On track, we have corners like this all the time in autocross, and I blew it, which is really unfortunate because that's a consistency thing. That's a layup, and I blew it. Um, I'm glad that I was able to get adjusted to this. It's not really even a slalom. It was really just a kink, but that was more confidence in being able to lay down power than anything else. Wow, that is kind of close. Did not ever notice that. Whatever. Anyways, how did I not notice that before? Anyways, it's just a consistency thing, and that's why we're learning. That's why I'm trying to get better. Honestly, I could have gotten probably more than a second on, maybe not on just stuff that I was doing right, but on little problems that I noticed, especially like this initial turn, not a big deal. The left kicked out a little more, or the right kicked out a little more than I wanted it to. I did not ever get it to rotate turning right, which means I was not even trying. Um, I don't know why I've always not turned right as well, but going back over this video, it's one of the things I noticed the first time I watched it, and I just didn't go fast enough. I need to go faster. I was really happy with how I started carrying speed through this whole section, because, or how I started laying into it initially over this whole section, even though the left was faster. Um, it wasn't because it initially got on it quicker. It's more because I rolled into it quicker after I had gotten straightened out. On the right, I could have gotten onto it sooner and harder, or I was on it sooner, but I wasn't on it hard enough. I was thinking I was at the limit, and I just wasn't. Um, and what was funny about this section, I think I mentioned it earlier, was, oh, I didn't. So I had tracked out. I had thought I tracked out more on the left side, and then cut this tighter, and that's why it was faster. But that actually wasn't the case. Um, on this side, I had come out wider, and then cut it, and then started to roll into it later, which is where the speed difference comes in. And unfortunately, I don't have my data to show that because I didn't have my USB stick on the Holly. Won't be a problem when I get my data stuff going. Anyways, I did multiple adjustments through the day, but the main thing was pulling the rebound out of the front, trying to get the rotation to settle down and not be so exacerbated. And it did work, but I don't know, I feel like I needed to pull the spring back out of it. I put the big springs in it because we actually, where this picture was taken, it was a track day my dad and I were both doing, and you just wanted it more stiff for that real grippy surface. We can work the shock harder and everything. Autocross, there's just not that much grip out there, so I should have swapped springs back, but um, just didn't do it. Didn't think it would matter as much as it did. But and then what else? I always do 2 runs before making any adjustments. So like I was sure that I needed to pull some rebound out, and I kept dialing it out and out until I got basically to the bottom and put a click back in it. It was a click or 2 back in it because um, I've never been a fan of being on 0 settings. Once you're at that point, it seems like it's just non-linear and not real consistent. Not that I'm a good enough driver to notice that, but like with my job and working with stuff, like being on the very low or very high edge of things, they just don't work very well. But if anybody has suggestions on what I could have been doing different, was I adjusting things the wrong way? I don't know. I just more or less have taken a little bit of experience from sim racing, the little bit of adjustments that I've been doing, Um, and like trying to piece things I've heard people saying over the time that sound right, and sitting down thinking about it, trying to figure out like, hey, if I slow this down, if I slow the rebound down on the front, how much is it going to help? Um, what am I saying? I'm saying I pulled rebound out of the front. I pulled rebound out of the rear because that's what would help the oversteer, not front. I'm silly. Anyways, either way, I pulled almost all of it out, and it was still doing it. So I don't know if I could have changed the balance up some other way, um, or if I need to. I can change the angles on my rear lower control arms. Not 100% on what I could have done. The tires they wear essentially perfectly. I can't going up or down in pressure isn't going to change any bit of that wear pattern. The last set of tires came off perfect. These are, as far as we can tell so far, been perfect. Right on the little traction triangle. I haven't over rolled them or nothing. It's even when it was on track and we were actually getting some real heat into them. So I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's spring, roll bar, or what. I feel kind of silly saying front rebound this whole time when it was actually rear, but whatever. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. I'm trying to get consistency in everything. If you got videos from the same event, please send them to me. I would love to do side by sides and see where I'm slower, because I know my lines aren't perfect. I know that my car is acting weird in some spots, and I'm sure it's because I'm doing something silly. So it'd be fun to talk to anybody that's doing this stuff. And like I said, more than happy to do side by side. It really didn't take as long as I thought it would to split this thing up. Um, Also, like my dad and I both drive my car at most events, so you can't co-drive at LS Fest, which is unfortunate. But I get it. That would be a competitive advantage. You'd have more heat in the tires than anybody out there, and that would not be okay. But couldn't do that here. Otherwise, it would have been like my run versus his run. I still would have done one of mine versus my own, just to see what I'm doing is consistency wise. Especially now that these two runs are only 4/10 apart, and there was so much time gained and lost throughout the run. It's just silly. I so any advice? Feel free to give it. I'm listening.